The colony on planet Vera 9 was always afraid of her. She was not just another alien. She was the fiercest, the strongest, the most untamable creature the humans had ever seen. When she walked, even soldiers in heavy armor stepped back. When she looked at someone, her eyes glowed like fire and people felt a shiver in their bones. They called her many names: the Wild One, the Beast, the Untamable Woman. But the most common was the terror of Vera 9. Her story was whispered in every corner of the colony. Mothers warned their children not to go near the outer fields at night. Miners refused to work in caves where she had been seen. Even the guards armed with plasma rifles did not like patrol duty when her shadow moved in the distance. One thing was clear: no one could control her. She was captured many times. The soldiers built cages of steel. She broke them. They wrapped her with energy chains. She tore them. They sent 10 men against her. She defeated all of them one by one and left them crawling on the ground. No matter what they tried, she escaped. No matter how strong the trap, she found a way to break it. But strangely, she never killed. She fought with fury, yes, but she never struck the final blow. She would knock a soldier down, roar with rage, and walk away. It was almost as if she wanted to prove one thing: you cannot own me. Her body was a weapon. Tall, strong, with muscles hard as stone. Her skin was dark silver, shining under the moons. Her long black hair flowed like a river of shadows, and her eyes, glowing bright blue, seemed more alive than the stars. To the colony, she was not a person. She was a problem, a danger, a storm they could not control. The Council of Elders held meeting after meeting about her. Some said she must be destroyed. Others said she must be studied. But all agreed she could not be allowed to run free. Still, no prison could hold her. The people remembered the night she escaped the central cage. The whole colony had gathered to see her chained in the square. Soldiers lined up with rifles. Engineers activated the energy fields. The council stood tall, watching with cold eyes. And she stood there, silent, her head bowed. For a moment, everyone thought she had finally given up. But then, with one sudden scream, she pulled the chains. Sparks flew. The steel cracked. The ground shook, the crowd gasped. The soldiers fired, but she moved faster than light. In seconds, the cage was broken. The guards were on the ground, and she was gone into the night. That was when the colony truly believed. Nothing could tame her. But fear was not the only feeling she created. Some people admired her. They whispered that she was not a beast, but a warrior. They said she had honor, that she never killed, that she fought only for freedom. To these few, she was not a monster, but a symbol. A reminder that the colony's power was not absolute. Still, most people only saw her as a threat. And finally, the council lost patience. One of the elders, an old man with a voice like ice, stood before the people and declared, "This alien woman is too dangerous. She is not one of us. She will never be one of us. Tomorrow we end this. Tomorrow she will be executed." The crowd cheered. "Soldiers prepared." The colony thought the nightmare was finally about to end. But among the crowd, one man did not cheer. He was not a soldier. He was not powerful. Just a human scientist, thin, quiet, known more for books than battles. He had been watching her for a long time. Not with fear, but with curiosity. Where others saw a beast, he saw intelligence. Where others saw danger, he saw pain. Where others saw a monster, he saw someone alone. And when the council announced her execution, he stepped forward. His voice was calm but strong. "Wait," he said. "You are wrong about her. She is not untamable. She only needs to be understood." The crowd turned to him in shock. Soldiers laughed. Elders frowned. But he did not stop. "Give her to me," he said. "I will take her in." Silence fell over the colony. The idea sounded insane. This ordinary man who had never fought in his life wanted to live with the most dangerous alien woman in the galaxy. Everyone waited for the council to refuse, but the old elder only narrowed his eyes. "You would risk your life?" he asked. "Yes," the scientist said. "Give me one cycle. If I fail, you can do what you want with her. But if I succeed, you will see that she is not what you think." The people gasped. The soldiers shook their heads. And the alien woman, still bound in chains, lifted her head for the first time. Her glowing eyes locked on him. For the first time, she did not look like a beast. She looked curious, and so the council agreed. She would not be executed, not yet. Instead, she would be given to the human scientist, the fiercest alien woman in the colony. would be his to handle. The people thought he was signing his own death sentence, but no one could imagine what was about to begin. The colony thought he was mad, a thin, ordinary scientist against a wild alien woman who had broken chains, crushed cages, and defeated armed soldiers. It sounded less like a plan and more like suicide. When the council gave its final word, many people expected to watch his death with their own eyes. Some even placed bets on how long he would last, a day, maybe a night, perhaps just a few hours. But the man did not look afraid. His name was Elias Wren, and while others lived in fear, he lived in curiosity. He had studied alien biology, ancient languages, and strange energy patterns. He had seen her not just as a beast, but as something more. Still, curiosity alone was not enough to protect him. Everyone knew this, everyone, except Elias. That night they brought her to him. The alien woman was chained in heavy metal bonds, her wrists bound behind her back, energy cuffs glowing red. 4 soldiers dragged her forward, and even then she fought them with every step. Her glowing blue eyes never blinked, never softened. They shoved her inside Elias's quarters, a simple research cabin at the edge of the colony. The walls were metal, the lights dim, filled with books, machines, and strange instruments. It was no prison, just a home. The soldiers laughed as they locked the door from outside. "She'll kill him before morning," one whispered. "Maybe before midnight," another smirked, but Elias stood calm. He faced her directly. "You're safe here," he said quietly. Her head snapped toward him, her eyes blazing like fire. She pulled at her chains, testing their strength. For a moment the room shook with her fury. Then she stopped staring at him, trying to read this strange human who dared to stand so close. He did not run. He did not reach for a weapon. He simply walked to the table and placed food in front of her. Real food, not the dry rations soldiers had thrown at her before. Fruits, bread, and water. Her eyes narrowed. Was it a trick? Elias sat down across from her. "Eat," he said. "If you want. Or don't, the choice is yours." The word choice made her freeze. No one had given her a choice before. She looked down at the food, then back at him. Slowly she turned away. She would not eat. Not yet. Hours passed. She sat in the corner, chains glowing, eyes locked on him. He continued with his work, writing notes, checking machines, whispering to himself. He did not speak to her again, did not force her to obey. The silence was strange. She was used to shouting guards, painful shocks, cruel commands. But this human gave her nothing but quiet, and that made her restless. She wanted him to scream. She wanted him to fear. She wanted him to fight, but he did none of these things. He only existed beside her, calm as the night. Finally, she broke the silence. Her voice was rough, deep like stone grinding against stone. "Why, no kill me?" she asked, her words clumsy but clear. Elias looked up from his notes. "Because I don't want to kill you," he said. "I want to know you." Her eyes narrowed. "Know me? Yes, you are not just muscle and rage. You think. You choose. You fight, but you do not kill." Why, she said nothing. Her lips pressed tight. Her eyes glowed brighter. "You're not a beast," Elias continued softly. "You're more than they understand, I see it." "I saw it the first day." She turned away, her chains rattling. His words stirred something inside her, something she didn't want to feel. For years, humans had called her a monster, an animal, but this one spoke as if she was something else, something human, and that unsettled her more than any cage ever had. The night deepened. Elias worked until his eyes grew heavy, then set his notes aside. He did something no one expected. He turned off the bright lights, left only a single small lamp burning, and lay down on his bed. The alien woman stared at him, shocked. No soldier would ever dare sleep in her presence. But this human closed his eyes, breathing slow, trusting her not to tear him apart. Her chains rattled softly as she shifted. She could end him now. Even bound, she was strong enough to crush him before he woke. She rose, the floor groaning under her weight. Her glowing eyes locked on him. She took one step closer, then another. Her shadow fell across him. Her hand lifted, chains clinking, fingers curling like claws. But she froze. Elias whispered in his sleep. Not words of fear, not screams, just a simple whisper. Her name, the name she had not heard in years. Her breath caught. She stepped back, her heart thundering like drums. How did he know her name? She stared at him, confusion breaking through her rage. And for the first time she felt something other than fury in the presence of a human. curiosity. Outside, the soldiers waited for screams that never came. Hours passed. The night grew silent. When morning came, Elias opened his eyes to find her still standing, still chained, but watching him with a strange, unreadable gaze. She had not killed him. Not yet. The next morning, the soldiers returned, expecting to find blood on the floor and a dead human scientist. Instead, they found Elias alive, calmly sipping a cup of bitter tea while the alien woman sat in the corner, chains still glowing, her bright eyes fixed on him. The guard stared in disbelief. One whispered, "How is he still breathing?" Another muttered, "It's a trick. She's waiting for the right moment." But Elias only smiled faintly. "You see? She did not kill me." The soldiers shook their heads and left, convinced that death was simply delayed. When the door closed again, the alien woman finally spoke. Her words were broken, but her voice was sharp, filled with confusion. "You speak my name," she said slowly. Elias looked up, his eyes calm, his tone gentle. "Yes, I know your name." Her body stiffened. "No human. Know my name. I studied," he replied. "Your people. Your language. Your battles. You are called Kara." The sound of her true name echoed in the small cabin, heavy as thunder. No human had spoken it since the day she was captured. Hearing it now from his lips was like a blade slicing into her chest. She tested her chains again, metal grinding under her strength. "You lie. I don't," Elias said. "I respect you enough to know who you are." Kara bared her teeth, half snarl, half smile. "Respect? Humans? No respect, humans. Only cage." "You're right," Elias admitted. "They fear what they don't understand. They see only your strength, not your heart." She froze at the word heart. It was strange to hear from a human. Strange to imagine that he thought she even had one. For a long moment she stared at him, searching his face for the trick, the weakness, the lie. But she found none. He sat calmly, as if her fury was just another storm passing outside. That afternoon he tried again. Elias brought food, fresh fruit, soft bread, warm water. He placed it carefully before her. She refused. He did not argue. He simply ate his own share, taking slow bites, ignoring her gaze. Hours later, her hunger burned hotter than pride. The smell of fruit filled her lungs. Her stomach growled like a beast. Finally, with a sudden growl, she tore into the bread, ripping it apart with sharp teeth. Elias said nothing. He only wrote notes in his book. Kara chewed, glaring at him. "Why, no fear?" she asked through a mouthful of food. "Because fear blinds people," Elias said simply. "I want to see clearly." She narrowed her eyes. "See what?" "You." The words struck harder than chains. No one had ever wanted to see her. They only wanted to cage her, use her, or destroy her. Now this human scientist looked at her as if she was more than a weapon, more than a monster, and it unsettled her. That night the silence grew heavy. Elias wrote, machines hummed, the lamp flickered. Kara shifted in her corner, her chains rattling softly. Finally, she broke the silence. "You, weak," she said. "Yes," Elias admitted without hesitation. "You, soft, perhaps. You, die easy." He looked up, meeting her burning gaze. "Maybe, but I believe strength is not just in muscle. Sometimes it is in choice. And I choose not to fight you." Her head tilted, confused. "Choice. Yes, you had choice last night, didn't you?" "You could have killed me." Her eyes flashed. "I should. But you didn't," he said softly. For the first time, Kara had no answer. Her world had always been simple. Chains and battles, cages and escapes. But this human was building a new battlefield, one of words, patience, and strange kindness, and she didn't know how to win. The following days became a clash of worlds. Elias spoke gently, taught her words in his language, showed her pictures of stars and books of history. She listened, sometimes mocking, sometimes silent. She resisted his lessons, calling them useless, but when he turned away, she practiced the words under her breath. She refused food when offered, but stole pieces when he wasn't looking. She claimed she hated his voice, but when he worked quietly, she found herself straining to hear it. Every moment with him was a battle, not of fists, but of will. One night, as the storms raged outside, Elias asked quietly, "Why do you fight so hard to stay untamed? Why never kill but never surrender?" Kara's eyes burned brighter, but this time her voice shook. My people. Cast me out, she said slowly. Too strong. Too wild, I fight, because fight is all I have. Elias leaned closer, his voice soft as rain. No, it's not all you have. You still have choice. You still have yourself. Her chains rattled as she turned away, her heart pounding with strange new heat. For the first time, the fiercest alien in the colony felt something she did not understand. Not rage, not freedom, something else. And as the storm outside crashed louder, Kara whispered a question that no soldier had ever heard from her lips. Why? You care? Elias looked at her, his eyes calm but unshakable. Because if I don't, no one will. The storms of Vera 9 raged for 3 days. Winds howled, dust clouds swallowed the horizon, and the colony gates stayed locked tight. No one could leave, no one could enter. In that time, Elias and Kara were trapped together inside the small research cabin. For most humans, 3 days with the fiercest alien woman alive would mean death. But Elias was still breathing. And more than that, something was changing. At first, Kara tried to keep her distance. She sat in her corner, chains glowing, eyes burning with suspicion. She told herself she would never speak more than a few words to the strange human scientist. She told herself she would never eat his food again, never listen to his soft voice, never trust his calm eyes, but time has a way of breaking walls that chains cannot. The silence between them grew heavy, so Elias filled it with words. Not orders, not commands, just stories. He told her about Earth, about oceans so wide you could sail for months without seeing land. He told her about forests that whispered when the wind moved through the trees. He told her about cities that glowed brighter than the stars. At first, Kara pretended not to listen. She turned her head away, arms crossed, eyes narrowed. But her ears betrayed her. The story slipped inside her mind, painting pictures she had never known. When he spoke of oceans, she imagined herself swimming free, no chains, no cages. When he spoke of forests, she imagined running through tall trees, wild but not hunted. When he spoke of glowing cities, she imagined walking openly, not feared, not hated, and though she never admitted it, she wanted to hear more. One evening, while the storm outside hammered the roof, Elias placed something small in front of her. It was not food, not chains, not a weapon. It was a book, old, worn, its pages full of drawings. This is for you, he said simply. Kara frowned. Book? I know read. Then I'll teach you, Elias replied, his voice calm. If you want. She stared at him. No human had ever offered her knowledge. Only prisons, only pain. Now here was this fragile man handing her the power of words. Slowly, suspiciously, she touched the book. The paper felt soft, fragile, nothing like the cold metal of chains. She opened it, saw drawings of creatures, animals from Earth, birds, wolves, whales. Wolves, Elias said, pointing. They hunt in packs. Strong but loyal. Kara traced the drawing with her finger. Like me, she muttered. Elias smiled. Yes, like you. For the first time, she did not feel like a monster. For the first time, she felt seen. As days passed, she began to speak more. Her words were broken, but they carried weight. She told Elias about her people, the warriors who cast her out. She told him about battles, about blood, about the silence of exile. And Elias listened, truly listened. Most humans wanted only her strength or her destruction. Elias wanted her truth. Sometimes she grew angry, her voice rising like thunder. Sometimes she grew quiet, her words trembling like glass. But always, Elias listened with the same calm eyes. It was strange. It was dangerous. It was a bond. But outside the cabin, the colony was watching. Soldiers took shifts outside his door, waiting for the screams that never came. They listened for the sound of chains breaking, for the crash of destruction, but instead they heard only silence, or sometimes something stranger. Laughter. One night, Kara laughed. Not loud, not cruel. Just a small, sharp sound when Elias made a clumsy mistake teaching her a word. The soldiers outside froze. No one had ever heard her laugh before. They looked at each other in fear. She's changing, one whispered, another scowled. No, he's making her dangerous in new ways. Inside, Kara felt the change too. She caught herself watching Elias when he worked, wondering why his hands shook slightly when he wrote, why his eyes grew soft when he looked at the stars. She caught herself wanting to ask him more about Earth, more about his strange human life. But each time she felt this, she pushed it away. No, she told herself. Humans cage. Humans lie. Humans break. Yet when Elias placed food in front of her, she ate it. When he handed her books, she opened them. When he spoke softly, she listened. The fiercest alien in the colony was losing her walls, piece by piece. One night, when the storm finally ended and silence fell over Vera 9, Kara spoke words that shocked even herself. You, not like others, she said quietly. Elias looked up, surprised. Why do you say that? You see me? She replied. Others see Beast. You see Kara. Her voice cracked at her own name, but she held his gaze. Elias nodded slowly. Because you are Kara. Not Beast. Not monster, just Kara. And for the first time in years, she felt something inside her shift. Not anger, not fear, but something almost forgotten. Hope. But bonds are dangerous things in a colony built on fear. Far away in the council chamber, the elders whispered. They had seen reports, heard the rumors, noticed the change in her. She is becoming too human, one elder spat. She is becoming too dangerous, another warned. And so they made a decision. If Kara could not be broken, then both she and Elias would be destroyed. The storms cleared. The skies of Vera 9 glowed red and gold under the twin suns, and the colony returned to its restless rhythm. But inside Elias's small cabin, the world felt different. Kara was no longer silent. She spoke more each day, her words growing smoother, her thoughts clearer. She was learning. She was changing, but change is dangerous when people fear it. And the colony feared her more than ever. The guards who patrolled outside Elias's cabin whispered among themselves. She laughs now, with him. She eats human food. She speaks our words. To the soldiers, it sounded like corruption. To the council, it sounded like a threat. She is not becoming tame, the old elder said during a secret meeting. She is becoming close. Too close. Another elder slammed his hand on the table. If she bonds with him, the people will start asking questions. They will stop fearing her. They will start wondering if we lied about the monster we created in their minds. The council could not allow that. So they formed a plan. They would not wait for her to grow stronger. They would not wait for her to turn fully human in the eyes of the people. They would end both her and Elias, quietly, without warning. Inside the cabin, Elias noticed something was wrong. The guards outside had doubled. Their faces looked harder, their eyes sharper. Food deliveries arrived late, sometimes spoiled, as if to make Kara suffer. And the council had stopped sending him any supplies for his research. He wrote it all in his notes. He knew the council was preparing something. He just didn't know when. Kara sensed it too. She had lived too long in cages, too long under chains not to smell betrayal in the air. One night, while Elias worked at his desk, she spoke. They will come, she said simply. Elias looked up. Who? The council. They plan against us. I feel it, Elias hesitated. I know, but we still have time. If I can prove to them that you are more than they believe. Kara cut him off with a low growl. No, they do not want proof. They want control. And if they cannot control, they destroy. Her words were sharp, her eyes glowing in the dark. Elias tried to answer, but deep down he knew she was right. The betrayal came sooner than expected. It happened in the early hours, before the suns rose, when the colony slept. The guards outside received secret orders. In silence they prepared. Inside, Kara stirred, restless. She heard the faint scrape of boots, the click of weapons being armed. Her body tensed. Her chains rattled softly. Elias, she whispered. He turned, confused. What is it? She stood tall, eyes burning brighter than the lamp. They are here. And then, the door burst open, soldiers poured in, weapons raised. Their commander shouted, Stand aside, Elias. This ends now. Elias rushed in front of Kara, arms wide, blocking their aim. No, she's not what you think. The commander sneered. Move, scientist. She has infected your mind. She is still a beast, and you will die with her if you stand in our way. Kara roared, chains glowing red as she pulled with all her strength. The cabin shook. The metal groaned. The soldiers hesitated, their weapons trembling. For the first time, they saw not just fury in her eyes, but fire. Not blind rage, but purpose, Elias shouted over the chaos. Listen to me. She has learned our words. She has shared her story. She is not a monster, she is alive like us. But the council had poisoned the soldiers with fear for too long. The commander spat, alive or not, she is dangerous. She dies tonight, and so do you. With those words, the soldiers surged forward. The clash was brutal. Chains snapped like brittle glass. Kara tore free, her body moving with the speed of a storm. She knocked weapons aside, ripped doors from hinges, sent soldiers crashing against the walls. But she did not kill. Even in her fury, she only struck to defend, never to destroy. Elias watched in awe. The fiercest alien woman in the colony fought not for her freedom, not for vengeance, but for him. The commander, bleeding and desperate, raised his weapon at Elias. Enough. One more step and the human dies. The soldiers froze. Kara froze. The world seemed to stop. Elias felt the heat of the barrel against his chest. He did not move. And Kara, who had never obeyed anyone, who had never bent to any chain, slowly lowered her hands. Her glowing eyes burned with fury, but her voice came soft like thunder rolling far away. "Let him go," she growled. "Take me instead." The soldiers exchanged shocked glances. The monster was surrendering. The untamable one was giving herself up. The commander smirked, pressing the barrel harder into Elias's chest. Then kneel, and before anyone could stop her, Kara dropped to her knees, her head bowed, her chains clinking at her feet. The fiercest, wildest alien in the colony knelt for a human. The soldiers thought it was over. The fiercest alien woman in the colony, Kara, was on her knees. Her glowing eyes lowered, her chains heavy once more. The commander stood tall, pressing his weapon against Elias's chest. Around him, soldiers smirked, believing the beast had finally broken. But they did not understand what had just happened. Kara had not surrendered because she was weak. She had surrendered because Elias's life meant more to her than freedom, and that choice lit a fire in her heart hotter than any rage she had ever known. The commander barked orders. "Bind her! Drag her back to the council. When the suns rise, the people will watch her execution, and his too." 2 soldiers stepped forward with chains. Their hands trembled as they reached for Kara's arms. She remained still, silent, her body coiled like a predator waiting for the right moment. Elias's eyes widened. "Kara, no," he whispered, but it was too late. The instant cold steel touched her skin, she exploded. With a roar that shook the cabin, Kara snapped the chains like twigs. She rose to her full height, taller, stronger, her silver skin glowing under the flickering lights. In one swift motion, she grabbed the nearest soldier and hurled him across the room. Panic erupted. Weapons fired, plasma bolts scorching the air, but Kara moved faster than sight. She slammed the table into 2 soldiers, sending them crashing against the wall. Another soldier raised his rifle. She tore it from his hands and crushed it like paper. Elias ducked behind a desk as sparks flew, the cabin becoming a battlefield. He had seen her fury before, but never like this. This was not the rage of a beast. This was the wrath of someone protecting what mattered most. The commander shouted, "Kill the human. If she wants him, then let her watch him die." 2 soldiers turned their weapons toward Elias. Kara roared and leapt, her body a blur of power. She shielded him with her own body, plasma bolts striking her skin, burning but not breaking her. She grabbed the attackers and slammed them to the ground, their weapons scattering like toys. Elias stared up at her in shock. She was bleeding, smoke rising from her wounds, but she had not let a single shot touch him. For the first time, he truly understood. She would die for him. The remaining soldiers backed toward the door, fear replacing confidence. They had been told she was a beast without loyalty, without mercy. But now they saw something far more dangerous, an alien who could love. The commander cursed, raising his weapon again. "You think you can protect him? You think you can fight us all?" Kara turned slowly, her glowing eyes burning like twin suns. Her voice was low, rumbling like thunder. "I do not think," she said. "I know." Then she moved. The cabin door shattered as she hurled soldiers through it. Alarms blared, lights flashed, the colony stirring awake. People rushed into the streets only to see the untamable alien storming through the night, soldiers scattering before her like leaves in the wind. Walls cracked under her fists. Defense towers trembled as she ripped their cannons down. Machines built to control her were torn apart with her bare hands, but still she did not kill. She struck hard, broke weapons, crushed armor, but every soldier lived. Every time she spared them, the colony's fear turned to awe. Children hiding behind their parents whispered, "She's not a beast." Miners cheered from rooftops, "She fights for the human." Even soldiers hesitated, wondering if they had been lied to all along. At the heart of the chaos, Kara stood tall, Elias behind her, her voice echoing across the colony. "Give him back," she roared. "Touch him again and your walls will fall, your weapons will burn, your power will mean nothing." The people gasped. No one had ever seen her speak so clearly, so fiercely. She was no longer the beast of Vera 9. She was something greater, but the council would not yield. From the balcony above, the old elder appeared, his voice amplified by machines. "Citizens of Vera 9, do not be fooled. She is a monster. She will destroy us all. If you do not stop her, your children will suffer." The crowd wavered, torn between fear and belief. Soldiers raised their rifles again, unsure, and then the elder gave his final order. "Kill the human. Do it now." Time slowed. Elias felt the barrel of a rifle pressed against his back. He heard the soldier's trembling breath. He knew he had only seconds left. Kara froze, her glowing eyes wide. For all her strength, she was too far to stop the shot. The bond between them, fragile but unbreakable, was about to be tested in fire. The night air of Vera 9 shook with shouts and gunfire. The colony square glowed red under alarm lights, and in the center stood Kara, the fiercest alien woman in the galaxy. Her body was scarred, her silver skin burned with plasma strikes, but her eyes still blazed bright blue. Around her, soldiers formed a circle. Their rifles were not aimed at her this time. They were aimed at Elias. One wrong move and he would die. The council elder's voice thundered over the crowd. "You see, people of Vera 9, this monster pretends to protect him, but she cannot stop what is coming. Watch as her bond with the human destroys them both." The soldiers tightened their grips. Elias felt the cold barrel of a rifle dig into his back. Kara's chest rose and fell like a storm. For the first time since she had been captured, she felt something stronger than rage. She felt fear, not for herself, but for him. Elias met her eyes. Even surrounded, even facing death, his face stayed calm. "Kara," he said softly, "you don't have to fight them all. Not like this." Her chains rattled at her wrists. "I cannot lose you." "You won't," he whispered. "Not if we choose." The word choose struck her again the same way it had before in the cabin. Choice, something she had never been allowed, something humans had always stolen from her. But Elias had given it back, and now here the colony demanded her choice once more. The elder shouted, "Kneel again, beast. Kneel and maybe the human will live. Resist and we burn him alive." The crowd gasped. The soldiers shifted uneasily. Even they knew this was no justice, it was cruelty. Kara lowered her head, her hands trembling. Her pride screamed to fight. Her blood boiled for freedom. But her heart screamed for him, slowly. She sank to her knees once more. The fiercest alien woman in the colony bowed her head, not to chains, not to the council, but to protect the one human who saw her as more than a beast. The soldiers moved closer, ready to bind her. The elder raised his hand to give the final order, but Elias suddenly stepped forward. "Wait," he called out, his voice cutting through the square. All eyes turned to him. His thin frame, his tired face, his steady voice. He looked nothing like a warrior, yet in that moment he stood taller than the council itself. "You call her a monster," he said, pointing to Kara. "But who here is truly monstrous? The one who spares her enemies even when chained and beaten, or the ones who would kill an innocent man to prove their power?" The crowd murmured. Fear cracked. Doubt spread like fire. The elder slammed his fist on the railing. "Lies! She has poisoned his mind!" Elias shook his head. "No, she has freed it. She is not untamable. She is not your beast. She is Kara, and she has more honor than this council ever will." Kara lifted her head, staring at him in shock. Never before had anyone spoken her name with such strength, with such truth. The soldiers hesitated. Some lowered their weapons. The crowd grew louder, voices rising, questions spilling into the night. Why doesn't she kill? Why does she fight only to protect him? Why do the elders fear her so much? The elder's face twisted with rage. "Enough! Kill them both!" The rifles rose again. Kara's heart thundered. This was the moment. The choice. She could surrender and watch him die, or she could rise and face the whole colony. knowing she might not survive. She looked at Elias. His eyes held hers, steady, unbroken. "We choose together," he whispered, and Kara stood. With a roar that split the night, she tore off the chains that still bound her wrists. Sparks exploded, metal shattered. She leapt into the circle of soldiers, her fists faster than lightning, her body a storm of fury and fire. But this time, she was not alone. Elias moved too, not with fists, but with mind. From his coat he pulled a small device, one he had been building in secret. It hummed with energy, crackling with power. The soldiers tried to shoot, but their weapons failed, circuits fried by Elias's machine. The people gasped as sparks danced through the air, disarming the entire squad. Kara struck down the last soldier standing tall beside him. The elder screamed from the balcony, "She will kill us all." But Kara raised her voice louder than the council's machines. "No," she shouted. "I will kill no one. I will not be your beast. I will not be your cage. I fight for choice. I fight for him. And if you fear that, then fear the truth." The square fell silent. Children peered from doorways. Workers dropped their tools. Even the soldiers, stripped of weapons, could only stare at her. The council had promised a monster. But what they saw was something else. A warrior who spared her enemies, who fought not for herself but for another. The fear that had ruled the colony for so long began to crumble. In its place, something new began to rise. Respect. The elder, red with fury, tried one last command. "Seize them!" But no one moved. Not a single soldier obeyed. The people stood still, their eyes on Kara and Elias. And in that silence, the balance of power shifted forever. Kara turned to Elias. Her chains lay broken at her feet. Her eyes glowed brighter than ever, but not with rage, with something gentler, something fiercer than anger could ever be. Hope. Elias placed a hand on her arm. For the first time, she did not flinch. Together, they walked out of the square side by side. From that day forward, the people whispered a new name for her. Not beast, not monster, but Kara, the untamed, who chose a human, and in doing so, chose herself.